Cue.
And all right, the audio is rolling whenever you're ready. No rush.
All right. Let me just. I'm gonna share it.
I'll close the door behind you. Just,
Oh.
I got it.
Yeah. Cool.
Beautiful.
Share now. Boom.
Is there a certain place to look, or not, just look at him?
Yeah,
look
just
at him.
look at
Yep,
him.
yep,
Don't
yep.
even. Yeah,
Okay.
he like Ming will move the camera or do.
Oh, okay.
He
I have
moves
to,
stuff
but
around.
You guys are framed pretty well.
See. All right, and I'm just gonna turn off my The only time I check usually is at the end to make sure what the time is, or
Okay.
if I see how long we've been going. But there's really no rules.
Okay.
If you do swear, there's a swear jar.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I try, I've only cursed once on here, and try not to do that. All right, so ready to go? Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another fabulous edition of Totally Local, a podcast I do about lovely, inspiring characters in and around the Jersey Shore, running their business, doing their thing, living around here. There's something just I find very appealing. Growing up in the area, days like this where it's all overcast and cloudy, I would be, all, mumbly and not happy and what am I doing in this area? It sucks. And it took me moving away and then coming back to really appreciate whatever it is that goes on around here. And let me just say thank you first to Ming and a Shared Universe podcast studio. My guest today, this week, is the fabulous, wonderful Deana Kreher, who is, here with me today to discuss a little bit about a couple different things, your love of the Jersey Shore, and we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to get into it, I think.
I think we will.
All right, how's it going? How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me today,
Thank
Andrew.
you, to take time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me and do this. What you moved here? You weren't from Monmouth or Ocean County. You kind of moved and just what brought you? What made you feel like this was the area and the place to be for you?
I grew up in Island in Middlesex County, and then I moved to Eatontown. And I loved Eatontown. I loved living here. I rented here for about 10 years. And there's something about Monmouth County. It's just being close to the beach. That's always been something I wanted to do, was be very close to the beach. And then I moved a little closer. I went down to Ocean Township. And now I'm literally like 6 minutes into Asbury Park by car, 20 by bike, 15 by Vespa. So it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
That's so cool. When we first met, we met at Vale Realty. Shout out to Paul Vale.
Hey, Paul.
And also, you were one of my favorite people when I was working there, and working with Vale Realty and helping them out. Obviously, Carol, shout out to Carol, who's awesome, and then you came in and, a lot of the times when you're dealing with real estate or you're a real estate agent, in this day and age, you really don't even have to be in the office as much as, say, years ago when it was not as, technologically as advanced as it is now. But I found that you really, when you started working out of that office, you were in there, you were hustling, you took more to it, I feel, than some agents do in regards to knowing the value of having that time to be in the office. I mean, not to mention it was cool because, it's right in Asbury Park, downtown-ish area. But also, you didn't shy away from using social media and kind of just going out there and pushing it. What kind of, I don't know, what kind of drove you to you kind of approached it in a different way?
I did. My background actually is corporate accounting and finance.
Oh,
so I was
exciting.
in the corporate world for about 23 years, and we got acquired. So I said, like everybody watches those TV shows, $1 Million Listing, and I'm like, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. So I thought there had to be a different way to go about it because there's a lot of competition out there and a lot of great agents in town. So I said, let me try the social media aspect. And I took a few online classes, which I continue to do because I think that's important.
Yeah.
And Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, those media circuits are just fantastic. And they've done everything for me.
That's
and
cool.
I'm very thankful to have them. And I just, it's fun. You know, sometimes it's a little, like, this is a little nervous. You know, I'm a little nervous, but
I can't tell.
they, you know, doing the Facebook videos and all that, people like videos. People just want to see you and see your personality come up. So that's what I was trying to do. And it's the real me, you know, it's
Yeah.
not, it's like not like fake. This is just who I am. So.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes across. And with agents, you know, just to let, you know, people know, my background in real estate, my family does real estate, my in-laws do real estate. I've had my license. I've been out there. It's something I've been interested in kind of more of a peripheral kind of way, where it's interesting to see what the inventory is. What the market's like, these certain issues that come up time and time again when people are buying or selling a home, pitfalls that people could really look out for and stuff. So I've always kind of been interested in it in just kind of more of an observational kind of a way. But I don't know if I'd be good at actually selling a home. You seem to be kind of just a natural at approachable and be able to kind of no BS. Like, this is a house. I'm going to show you what's great about it. And if you want it, great, you know?
Well, I appreciate that. I like to do a lot of research for people. I think that's very important. Market knowledge is very important. I just don't want to take you into the house and, you know, give you 3 choices or anything like that.
Yeah.
I like driving clients around, showing them the neighborhood, where things are. It's the lifestyle you're selling. It's
Yeah.
not just a house. So I get all excited showing them, you know, Purple Glaze, my favorite donut shop in town, like everybody else, you know. And I just like to show people, you know, what it's like to live in the town that
Yeah.
they're thinking about buying.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
It's so much more too than you're buying a house, but what's the neighborhood like, you know? So what do you when you're first dealing with a client, introduced to them, talking to them, what are kind of the first things, if somebody's looking to buy a home, what are the first things that you kind of go over with them?
Well, it's very, very important, especially nowadays, because there's such limited inventory, that a buyer is pre-qualified.
Yeah.
If they're not pre-qualified when it comes to putting that offer in, and we're up against other offers, we're not going to be as strong as other offers. So, you know, really speaking with a mortgage lender and knowing, you know, what you can afford, unless you're paying cash, but that really is the first
Baller.
step.
Yeah. What, as far as like, what does that mean, just to kind of clarify for people that are out there being pre-qualified? What does somebody need to do, like to what paperwork, what do you need to get there?
Well, you shouldn't make any big purchases if you're going to be buying a house. So, you know, hold off on buying the cars and the furniture and all that. It's pretty much getting, you know, all your pay stubs, your W-2s, your tax information for the last so many months to the mortgage lender. And he'll go through all your credit reports and everything, and he'll let you know what you can and cannot afford, how much down you want to pay, what rate you're going to pay, and, you know, the best avenue for you. So once we know that, then we can seriously start, because I don't want to show something to somebody that's out of their price point, because that's just not going to be good for either one of us.
You get their expectations all up, and
Exactly.
then you like pull the rug out, and they're like, "Oh man."
Right.
I really, you know, obviously, if you can't get pre-qualified and you can't afford to buy a home, don't. I mean, you can't, so don't. But I really recommend that people look into that, just because if you're living in an area, if you are paying rent, if you do have a steady income, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of scared to make that jump from like, I have a rental, I'm renting, I don't have to deal with these things. And there's like this big ominous idea of like these extra, like I for example, I just had to get a roof put on my house. And it's scary, but it's not as scary as people kind of make it out to be, you know?
Right. You make a good point about the rental, because I actually have a client who's her renewal's coming up soon. And I said to her, you know, do you want to think about maybe investing in something? And, you know, credit score is low, and that's something that's very important, is the credit score. So I think it's just, you know, providing people the information and, okay, if your credit score is a little low, what to do to clean it up. And we work towards that, because if you're paying almost $2,000 in rent, chances are you might be able to afford something on your own if you bought it. So
you could take that money that you're putting in your landlord's pocket, and you're basically, essentially, you're investing in owning your own property.
Exactly.
And if you're just starting out too, it's not like you have to have that forever home, that dream home right away. You can get a smaller property, condo, whatever, and then kind of use that when you need that equity to get the house that you want to live in forever.
Exactly.
You know, and that's it's interesting to kind of think about right now in this area. It's still a seller's market, right?
Very much so.
Like the inventory is super low.
Inventory is super low, but every day I'm seeing a lot more homes coming on the market. It was almost 140 properties came on the market yesterday, and that was a lot. Yeah, so there's like a hot sheet we all look at every day, and you just kind of see the numbers going up and up and up. So that's been exciting to see.
And people are getting ready too, because it's funny how it is seasonal. It's better to kind of look at the inventory and buy if you really want to find deals more around now, because when spring hits and summer hits, it gets like nutty.
It gets crazy.
You think it would be something where you could buy a house whenever throughout the year. You don't need to buy it, but there's something about, I think, especially in this area, people are out at the beach, they see a for sale sign, they're like, oh, that'd be nice.
And the
like,
homes are showing so much nicer, and you're really feeling the neighborhood, and so I wouldn't have time to do this in May.
Exactly. I hit you up early. So that's an interesting thing too, to think about the beach and this area. People come down, and it's, if you landed in Bradley Beach in like '92, you could have a really nice house down there. For whatever reason, I guess people weren't thinking about that. But now, I've even seen the prices in Asbury Park have really gone up. What do you do when somebody's like, I want to live near they want to live near the beach, they want to live in Asbury Park, but it's like maybe you could find a better deal somewhere else. How do you can't really tell them what to do, but is there a way of kind of letting them know, like, hey, there's this town or that town maybe?
Right. That's a lot of people, they want east of Main Street. They're not too sure about the west side of Asbury, but the west side of Asbury has some great sections, as you know.
They're developing it a lot now.
Yes, and they're not, they just know Asbury, but they don't know maybe Wanamassa. They don't know Lock Harbor. It's a surrounding town. So I like to really, show them what they want to see that's in the budget, but also let them come with me, let me show them some other things in the area, because knowledge is key. They have to just kind of see everything, know how to get to places, know where Wegmans is. You take Sunset Ave down, so just feeling the neighborhoods out.
And in this area too, it's so the towns are, obviously. We were just talking about New Mexico, where it's like, there's one town, and then like 40 minutes away is the next town. Here, it's all kind of, you're relatively pretty close. I was just talking to somebody that moved here from LA, and they were renting. They were like 20 minutes, 30 minutes from the beach. They were paying like $3,000. It was ridiculous. And they had family that lived around here, and it kind of just clicked where they're like, wow, we could be so much closer. People around here complain about the taxes and how much you pay and why the hell are we all still here. But like, there's something about this area, and relative to, say, a New York or an LA, like it's not that horrible for what you get, seasonally.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially like, I just recently sold something in the Highlands, and my clients work in New York.
Shout out to Highlands, my hometown.
There you go. And the C Street Ferry. That's a big thing for commuters to New York City. And then, you have the great shore towns. You're going right into Seabright, and you're going to Long Branch, all the way down. And every shore town is special in its own way. And it's, living where we live, we're 15, 20 minutes to the next place we want to be at.
Yeah.
It's great.
From everything. And it's kind of funny, too, because in the summer, you really have to, like, hunker down. Like, if I lived in Ocean Grove for a while, and if you're in Ocean Grove in the summer, you're there. Like, you have to plan out, because the people come in, there's nowhere to park, all this stuff. But it's like, once you're in there, it's like, why would you want to leave? You could walk into Asbury, you could get a cup of coffee down the street. It's all kind of right there. And people really, it's like, once you get a taste, I think, of the whole summer vibe around here, then it kind of makes you endure this overcast kind of crappy weather that we're dealing with. It's kind of warm today, so whatever, you take it when you can. But like, it's like that whole time, that 3-month, 4-month period is what you're kind of gunning for all year. And there's other towns too. I mean, there's, like you were saying, there's like Highlands. There's even stuff further south, like Brick used to be like a 4-letter word. Shout out to Brick. I like Brick. So like, I have friends that moved to Brick, and they're like it's Brick, but it's close. It's northern Brick. I'm like, it's cool, man. Brick's cool. So there are a lot of options.
Brielle, Manasquan.
Yeah.
I've been down there a lot lately. Belmar. I've been in and out of Belmar a lot lately, and it's a great town. It's just a great town.
Are people still looking for those investment properties too? Like rent? to buy and rent out in those shore towns?
If they can. Some people do like the benefit of having like the back cottage if they can, so they can live in one and also rent out the other.
Is this whole kerfluffle that's going on with Airbnb, it's affecting Asbury Park, where they're putting stuff in place to kind of curtail people doing the summer rental? That's not happening in other towns, right?
No, it's just in Asbury Park right now.
And people are fighting it too now. They kind of woke up and they're like, "You did what to me? Ooh, where?" And I just talked to some guy who had a summer rental property, and he's making that his primary residence so he can come down and vote. Because it's important if you're involved in this town, if you have investment properties in these towns, you really have to pay attention, because you can get jammed up. Now, as far as people selling a home, there are certain things that I've been witness to, that I've talked to agents about, and it's this idea of let's just address the idea, if you're selling a home, you got to make it presentable.
Absolutely. You have one time to make a good first impression.
Yeah, and some people, it's kind of like when you go on a first date, it's like a blind date, and then you show up and you're like, oh no. Like, you go into these houses, and if they don't have, they got to present it.
Exactly.
Make it look nice.
Declutter.
Yeah, declutter. I was talking to, shout outs to Big Dog Construction. I was talking to Telly about, making sure everything's, if you want to improve stuff, making it like kind of neutral tones, so you're not like kind of scaring people. And there's also this idea of like a sentimentality to it. People add like 30 G's onto the price of their house just because they like it a lot.
Of course they do.
And it's funny because I don't know how you approach it, but you do like a comparative market analysis for people where you're showing them things that have sold in the area. Have you come into that, and how do you handle it when you do, where you show people, look, your neighbor just sold for this much. How do you expect to get 100,000 on top of that? Like, how do you approach those conversations?
Delicately to start, because I do want to get the listing. But it is very important. First of all, it all starts with the curb appeal. They're going to pull up and see the house. So let's not have it sloppy outside. It's just that's the first impression. And decluttering. It's people will walk around. They're going to look at all your family pictures. If you can take some of them maybe down, because they'll just spend more time looking at your family photos in a certain room than the house. So just keeping it neat and presentable. When you have it listed, it is very important to be available for showings, because I know some people have pets and we have to work around the pets. And if that's the case, that's fine. But maybe say, every Sunday we'll have an open house. So, it's always available, because you don't want to miss that one buyer that's coming through because you can't go in there to see it. You
don't really want the person selling the home you don't necessarily want them to be in the home while they're there, right? You kind of want them to go get a coffee or do something else.
Exactly.
And it kind of plays into the psychology of, you're not trying to manipulate people, but you're trying to get them in the idea of this as their home, to kind of show them, that. And anything, when you're working with a real estate agent, you got to really approach it from the idea of they're your ally. Like, if you're working with somebody, the things that they're presenting to you, it's not like, this is based on experience, on what you know. So you really kind of have to find somebody to work with that you trust. When they tell you that the house is too much, you gotta lower it. You got to find somebody that you can work with.
It's all about trust. It's all about trust. And, when I go to somebody's house, I like for them to show me the house. I like for them to tell me, what room do you like the best? Why do you enjoy sitting here? And just to get a feel for their life in that home, because that's very important. And, we'll see cosmetic things in the house that can be fixed. So there are certain things, we don't want the trim falling down, fix a couple things. They can always go above and beyond and go get a home warranty in advance if they like, for the buyers. And something that I see a lot of people doing is get like a feature, like all the highlights of what they've done on the house. That's a nice, like, kind of a cheat sheet to hand to a prospective buyer to say, hey, look at all the things we did to the house. Because it helps answers a lot of questions that come up, and people really like that.
What's the home warranty?
You can get a home warranty on your house. So I think it's called American Standard offers that you can get a 1-year home warranty on some of the big ticket items on the house, like the furnace or the air conditioning unit. So it's just like a little extra protection in case it did did go when the new buyers had it, there is some coverage on it. It's like an insurance policy for a limited time. And they're not that expensive. I mean, I believe you can get it for $500 or maybe even a little bit less. So maybe it's better for some of the older homes, but it's not a bad thing to consider. It's just an extra bonus.
Yeah, it's kind of like, too, as far as getting inspections done, making sure there's no like oil tanks or whatever.
Mold.
Yeah, in the ground, making sure all that stuff is taken care of. You know, because if you're showing a home and people come in and something's a little funky, you'd rather have that preemptively like taken care of before somebody comes
Especially a tank sweep. Oil tank sweep, especially in Asbury. That's a very popular one.
Is it just because that's like what people used to do, and
Exactly.
then they just bury it and leave it there?
Yep, there's one guy, Tommy. He put them in years ago with his dad, and he's probably in his 70s, and he takes them out now.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Why were they putting them in the ground like that? It was just the way it was.
That's how it was. The way it was, you know. So a lot of people pay. It's like a $200 sweep. You know, you just kind of sweep the ground, and if there's a tank, that it has to be removed, and it's the seller's responsibility.
I was looking at houses this was years ago with my dad. Shout out to Pops. And we came to a house, and they had a tank. It was in the ground. They had it removed. There was no records of anything, and you could kind of get gummed up with that too, like having things done to your house, not having the records. You know, so hopefully people are keeping like a paper trail of everything.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope. Because I think many properties might have duplicate sweeps on them.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just saying, if you have one, keep your records.
And liens too, making sure that, you know, if at any point, you know, there was something put on your house to say, you know, you owe somebody money. Maybe it wasn't even you. Maybe it was, you know, your parents. So you got to make sure all that stuff in order to sell your house is like in order.
Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned pets earlier, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about you have a therapy dog?
I do.
What is that the proper
Yes.
nomenclature?
Yes.
And it's not. This isn't like some. You know, I know people. My brother-in-law. Shout out to my brother-in-law who you know, he has like a emotional support animal. And he could bring it on a plane. That's why he does it. But what you do is actually you know, this is something to help other people.
Correct.
And what do you do? What's the name of your dog?
My dog's name is Stella.
Stella.
She's a rescue. She'll be 4 in June, and I've been taking her to Brandywine Assisted Living over here in Shrewsbury over here. And we go every Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we visit the residents. And to get certified, she went to Ocean County College. We went for 5 Saturdays in a row.
College graduate.
She's a college graduate, one of 10.
Sweet.
And then on the 5th week, it was an hour and a half for 5 weeks, and on the 5th week was the testing day. So there were 10 sets of commands she needed to do, and I was like, oh, come on, Stella. And she passed, and, you know, we go in there, and actually just this past week, a very dear friend of mine had a fall. She's doing okay, but she went to Monmouth Medical Center. So it was her first trip in the hospital, and that was amazing. That was amazing. So
I mean, the dog, you know, has to have the temperament to, you know, be approachable, be pretty calm, and I mean, I could see how that would really help, just to go around and do you just walk around with Stella and then?
Well, Stella gets a lot of treats.
Stella's put on some weight since.
No, she's actually lost some weight, but she
okay.
gets treats. She does get treats there, you know, because the residents just love the feel of her, just like licking and they're like, "Come on, I don't have anything for you, pup," you know. And they always want to give her some treats. So we walk around. We'll sit on the couches by the fireplace, and she'll just walk around, and then she gets comfortable and sits by people. It's really kind of nice. It's very rewarding to me, and there's just a little bit give back to
That's
the community.
great. That's
yeah,
so
I'm
cool.
looking to find maybe a veterans organization to work with as well, because I think that'd be something nice to do.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I could see how that could be really kind of just calming, and, you know, especially when you're dealing. When I think about dogs, sometimes that you know, are jumpy or barking and stuff. But if you have a dog that has that temperament and it's calm and you're just sitting with it, you know, and it's just paying attention to you and you're just petting it, that's really nice.
It's nice, and I appreciate you asking about that.
Yeah, no
that means
problem.
a lot to me. So.
I mean, that was interesting because we were texting back and forth with this, and then you said, you know, I got to do this on this day, so that's pretty cool. As far as, you know, jumping back into the real estate, it seems to me there's different types of buyers out there. There's the investment buyer, and then there's, you know, the first time home buyer. there's the the
second home,
and I mean, do you find that there's a more of a lean towards any of those categories as far as people looking in the area?
With the clients that I've been working with, I'm finding more of a second home, and a second home with possibly downsizing their first one and selling that one day.
Yeah, you see these houses that I go on there. I think a lot of people do this. They'll go on to either
Zillow.
Yeah,
The Z estimates. Oh, those Z estimates.
The bane of the agent's existence is Zillow, which just to let people know the reason that it's people get frustrated with it. It kind of takes the power out of the hands of the people that are actually experts in the area, and it also kind of gives some inaccurate information from time to time.
It does.
They don't have the actual way to pull the IDX data, the information on new homes and what's available that that actually the agents like yourself have. And it kind of creates this skewed perception of what's available, what's around.
And it doesn't always update because it's a syndicated, like a third-party syndicate. So I've had people call me and say, "Oh, this is in foreclosure," and it's not.
Yeah.
And it's just that Zillow never re-updated itself.
Yeah, and I mean there are benefits. I know agents that use it. They advertise. They got to pay an arm and a leg to advertise on there. And it could help. So I could see the possible benefit in it. But I'll use sites like that, or if the agent has a site, and look up these ridiculously large houses in like Navesink or Navesink, depending on where you're from. And these houses, you just posted one the other day, and it was
in
like,
Rumson?
yeah, how much?
17.2 million.
Yeah, and you were talking about downsizing. I've heard from other agents, they're working with people. They have a family. They were balling in the 80s. They had a bunch of kids, and now they're older now. They don't need this $17 million home, and they just want to be closer, even closer to the beach. So they're looking for, a condo or something that's right on there. Is it people looking for a second home that are like out of town, or are these people that are looking to get rid of their first home and then kind of downsize?
I've seen more out of town, more coming from North.
New York or North Jersey?
North Jersey, some New York, more North Jersey, Middlesex County in North.
Do you think that it's kind of like a, the area that the beach is kind of like a billboard
I think we're all getting old. We just want to be by the beach and relax.
Yeah.
You can definitely, people hear so much about it and they're saying, wow, things have changed, and they like what they see and they just want to be part of it.
Well, I think that helps too, the development in the area. It's not just, Asbury Park, especially on Cookman and down to the water has changed tremendously since when I first moved back was like 2007. And even then, there was nothing around here compared to what it is now. And a lot of people there's some naysayers that kind of get oh, it used to be cool, blah blah blah, whatever. But you have a lot more jobs in the area. There's a lot more options to go. It's not just one bar, and that's great for locals like us, I think, because that gives the out of towners other bars to go to. So then I know what bars I want to go to, so that they're not there, I am. So there's definitely more going on in this area.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I just saw, what's the name of that? It was all rebar for years, and now they're actually building it up right by the boardwalk. That big, what's it called? I can't think of the name.
Asbury?
No, not the Asbury. The one it's still in development. It's right by the water, right by Langosta. It was just all rebar for a while. Now they actually
was it 1101 or 1102 Ocean Ave that they're building now?
Is that the one? It's amazing how it's actually getting built now, where they're 3 stories up. It's going to be interesting, and I guess we'll get used to it as things do develop. I like to keep things 1 story high so that everyone gets to see the view. But it is nice to think about them, out-of-towners or investors, like iStar or Madison Marquette, or there's a bunch of other ones, Sackman, that are putting money into the area. I think people really need to recognize that it's and appreciate the fact that it is bringing in. It's bringing in people, it's bringing in jobs, and it's bringing in a lot of options for people, to have things to do. As far as the uniqueness of the area, I'm kind of Asbury centric just because there's a lot more going on around there, but there is something even up and down the shore for kind of everybody.
Absolutely. And I think as long as we, together as a community, keep it special with the music and the arts and all of that, I think, everything will be fine. You don't want it so commercial. You don't want any chain or nothing like that. But I think, it's happening.
Yeah.
So we just adapt and go with it.
You definitely have to adapt. And I think people really need to, I have videos of, maybe it was '02, maybe around then, of just the boardwalk, what was around there, the broken down X-rated movie theater, the rubble, there was stuff. It wasn't this glossy picture that people remember.
Right.
It's kind of come a long way, in my opinion. When you have people that come to the area, maybe they're out of town and they go to Asbury, and you got to tell them that look, it's not going to be easy to get onto the beach. It's not going to be easy to buy a home in this section. Is it something where you could kind of pivot and show them, you were saying Wanamassa or Brielle, there's stuff available, but it's kind of hard because of people's budget. It's like I said before, the prices have jumped up.
Yeah, I mean, the common things that people always ask for are, outdoor space. Does it come with parking? Does it have a washer dryer? Is it pet friendly? Yeah. And I like to make a little plug on the pet friendly for all you condo owners out there. We're a very pet friendly town, but there are a lot of restrictions on pets, and that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I have a 60-pound dog that's very docile. Don't say no, but some of the rules are really strict and has to be 45 pounds or under. So that it sometimes is a challenge. So if we can loosen that up, people, that'd be great.
It's like a fighter going into a fight. You got to have the dog on the Stella's on the treadmill. You're trying to cut weight. It's got a little jacket on, sweating it out. I mean, it's rough. It's rough on both sides too, because you have responsible pet owners like yourself. Then you might have some people that might not be so responsible. So it's it's a balance.
Yeah, it is a balance, and I like to educate. It's all about education.
Yeah.
So, and I don't find any of that ever a waste of time. I mean, I was showing people I recently met a couple properties, and they thought they wanted a condo, and we just happened to walk into one, and there was a dog barking next door, and they got them thinking about the condo lifestyle.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just because of that one incident, they definitely are looking at a single-family house now.
Yeah.
Now we've moved to Ocean Grove.
That's cool.
And
Awesome.
it's just that spending time and letting people go in and out of places.
And that's something too to consider too. There's a lot, and you kind of you in my opinion have the best of both worlds, where you're on social media and you've adapted, where older agents might not adapt as fast. People that were dealing with this before all of the social media stuff. So you do understand and you utilize the benefits of the social media to talk to people, to communicate and let them know who you are. But you also have that hands-on where you a lot of newer agents won't get into a car, get out of a car, show people stuff, talk to them. They just want to do it all online or
text or
No,
you have to have the face-to-face and meet people, sit down, have coffee with them. Tell me your needs, wants, and desires, because you should start with me with your wish list. Give me your budget, your wish list. Let me go to work.
Yeah.
And then as we start seeing places, and if you start finding things that are maybes, maybe then we start saying, oh, did you need it or do you want that fireplace? And there's a nice balance to getting it. And then when they fall in love, that's why I got into this, because I find the job very rewarding. I love seeing the expression. I wanted to help people, and I thought this would be a great way. And I'm the agent that's there from start to finish. I go to every closing, and people are like, "Oh, you go to get your check," and we all get our check.
Yeah,
you come in the mail or the next day, but that's the best part. It's just like we did it. Here's the keys. This is the fun part. You should be there as your agent.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're developing this relationship that they're, like I said before, like an ally, a friend, where you're helping them out. You're not there, and it's funny that people that look at agents sometimes as not being there to help, or not being there to get them the best deal or to find what they want. I mean, if you're in the business and that's not what your priority is, then why are you, why would you be doing that?
And I like to, I think it's as important to stay in touch with them. Are they happy there? How are they adapting? How are their neighbors?
Yeah.
And it's not like, okay, goodbye. We just kind of stay in touch always.
Oh, yeah.
And I meet them for a drink if I can, and it's been a great. I have to tell you, I love it. If I could have done it sooner, I would have. But things in life happen for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm riding this now, and I enjoy it.
And you're right on Madison.
Right on Madison.
Yeah. How I miss it there because I had my office out of that.
I know. I miss having you there too.
It was so much fun. You and Carol, like we would just kind of just sit there, and you do get these walk-ins, which is part of it. People don't really, I think, realize it, and also the fact that you kind of see who the agents are that care, that are hustling, that are there working. You got like Ken Rickle or Dominic Barty King, the people that you see that are friendly and working, have their nose to the grindstone. That's the kind of stuff I like to see, because when I see like people need something or want a recommendation, I'm gonna recommend the people that I see that are working hard, not only on social media like yourself, not only people that are in the office like yourself, but that actually care and have that kind of communication. Do you find that when people want to, I guess it's different every time, but if people are looking to buy a home, it could take, people need to have patience.
It could take 6 months.
It could take
a month.
Yeah. It just depends on, what they're willing to kind of, what they're willing to go for, what they're willing to compromise on. I mean,
do they want to do some work? Do they want it turnkey?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It just, yeah.
As long as their expectations, I guess, are met, it's kind of interesting. It's got to be something where do you have certain clients that you've worked with where it's taken over 6 months, like taken a year?
I had one that took about 11 months.
Uh-huh.
I had one that took about 11 months.
I think I might remember that
They
one.
bought in Mattawan,
Uh-huh.
and but that was fine. But I also find it it's important to work efficiently, because everyone's schedules are different, and if we see homes that they like, I'm big on previewing. I'll go out there and I'll preview that home for them, and I'll let them know what I think of it, give them some comments, feedback, because that has saved time, and it's just that they appreciate that. So I like that you used the word hustle, because I feel like I hustle, and I really work hard and try and do what I can for my clients.
I've worked with agents like literally across the country, and you could tell the ones that it is a full-time job, and I don't think some people realize that.
It is a full-time job.
I don't think some agents realize that, and they're like, "Oh, why aren't I making any money doing this?" It's like, because you're not.
No, this
in
is
the
a
office.
full-time job.
Yeah, and then the people that really need to appreciate working with an agent, that like it is something that is full-time.
It is
it's something
full-time.
that you have to put in hours and do. Do you find, as far as like open houses and stuff like that, do you do a lot of open houses? Do you go to a lot of open houses?
I go to a lot of open houses. I go to the broker tours. I've offered to do open houses for other agents in my office to get some leads through that method. I think it's great. I go to see as many homes as I can, because it's very important to know the market, and I need to know what's out there and be able to talk about it to clients.
Yeah. And you definitely get a feel for what I always tried to impart onto agents, or agencies, I should say. And it's interesting. You do have friendly real estate agents out there.
Absolutely.
But there's also this sense of like competition where, and it's totally understandable, but there's a certain way that I think agents, maybe not singing Kumbaya together, but like if you could kind of come together with those ideas, if one agent is having an open house and you show up, or on social media where you guys are kind of sharing stuff, there's a certain competition to it that I think that needs to be, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, it needs to be opened up, where there's agents like yourself that are networking and talking to all these agents, and there's other people that don't really want to do that. There's like this weird.
There is, and I think there's. I'm fortunate to have said I've met a lot of wonderful agents, and to your point about sharing. There's enough to go around.
Yeah.
We can all be successful in this, and I was actually caught by surprise once. It was earlier last year, I guess, like in April, May. Sonia O'Brien from Conover actually was having a broker's open the same day I was, and called me that morning, and she said, print out 20 of my listings, and I'll print out 20 of your listings, and we'll send people to each.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what?
That's
that
how it
was
should
really
be.
nice. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. And
Shout out.
yeah, shout out to Sonia, no doubt. But I think that's great. I really think that's great, and that definitely, like I said, we're all trying to help each other, find buyers and sellers, and so that worked out well.
It's amazing too to me, because I see the I see the industry, I see it in this area, and you'd think that with the inventory being so low in the area and the demand being so high, but there is really actually plenty to go around. There's people that I talk to. I work with a lot of agents, and they, they have leads coming in. They have people that they've worked with. They've had people that, bought a condo at one point, and now they're ready to buy a next home, and they get in touch. So there is actually a lot to go around. And, what advice, if any, would you give somebody that wanted to get into real estate and do it? Because a lot of times, brokers are always hustling. They want to bring people into their office, and they have obviously, they have something to gain in that respect. But there is something, if you have the right disposition, to getting into it. What kind of advice would you give somebody that wants to do what you do?
Well, I would say be yourself. Don't try and be somebody else other than yourself, and do a lot of research online in terms of the digital marketing, because that's kind of where it's at. Work with other agents, shadow other agents. Like you mentioned, Ken Rickle. Ken Rickle is amazing,
He's
and
always working.
Always working, and he's been there for me if I had a couple questions on how to approach a situation, and team up with agents like that. And try and work with them. And, it's a fun business. It really is a fun business. I would say interview a few different agencies. Just don't settle. As people should interview agents. Just don't, because your neighbor does real estate. Maybe he's not the best one. Give me a shot. Give me a call. But, just kind of approach it, step by step, and, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's how you're going to learn.
Yeah, I go into, that's one of the reasons I like doing this, because I'm not afraid to ask. Maybe might be dumb questions, but I'm not afraid to ask them, because I feel it's more important to be, knowledgeable in those situations than, just scared to ask those certain things.
And you start building up your library. You have your lenders, you have your home inspectors, you have the electrician. So in that aspect, that's really nice, because when you show a client, like, here, I have a list of different people you can, look to use, that's great. It just makes it easier for them. So
what are ways, aside from, I guess there's word of mouth. Like, there was your neighbor's an agent, which that's scary as hell. I would never, if I had a neighbor that was a real estate agent, I would be more nervous in certain instances to use that, because you're going to be seeing that person. I guess if you're buying a house and you're moving away, it doesn't matter. But anyway, what are ways that people can go out and find an agent that they would like?
Well, I think that's a little challenging. Sometimes people don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I think I think the name of the agency goes a long way. People know certain names, and they tend to go there. Some people just walk in, I do a lot of my stuff on, the Facebook. I try and reach out to other offices not in the area, like in New York and Hoboken. Just let them know, if you have clients, maybe we can do a referral kind of business. Send them my way, I'll send them your way.
Yeah.
So advertising in the paper, people read the paper still. Tri-City is, that's where I advertise. But, a lot of walk-ins and just random phone calls from people. Or, a lot of people actually do call the agents they see on the Zillow, the agents on the sidebar,
Yeah, it's, you got to figure out whatever advertising works for you.
Yeah, and just don't accept the first agent you see on Zillow, because there's other people out there. I'm just saying.
Just saying. As far as, too, like, in this area, there's certain, like we mentioned before, there's different people buying. Have you been dealing with investors recently, or is that seasonal too, where they're kind of going to be contacting you, when it's nice out, when they're out having Mai Tais at, like, beach bar somewhere? Is that something that's all year round?
I'm finding the investors more in the late fall, winter, and I feel like a lot of them are like renovation jobs.
Yeah,
I go to the sheriff's sales a lot in Freehold, and that's if you ever want to go, Andrew,
I do.
Come with me Mondays at 2:00.
I've looked them up, because somebody was looking into, one of my friends was looking into, maybe it was my brother, anyway, looking into buy a home, and I'm please don't take my word for it. Go talk to a professional like Deana, and you'll have a private conversation about it. But I was looking at these sheriff sales. I was looking at these prices in, like, Keensburg, which is like, I'm from Highlands, and there's Keensburg, and there's always, back and forth with people from these towns on which is the worst town. And, Keensburg had a bad rap. They've tried to change their name over, like, the decades so many times, but people aren't buying it. It's just Keensburg. Side note, if people say they're from, like, North Middletown, they're from Keensburg. Yeah, sorry. But there are, if you go along the water, if you go into Keansburg, there's investment properties in there. It's going to take, I think, and like I said, this is me talking, so whatever. But it's going to take some time for that kind of market, I think, to kind of flip over. But there's a lot of properties in there, and you're right on the bay. You're right on the water. And you start to see these houses. There's these huge houses right on the water, and then there's all these little tiny shanty town like houses all going through there. So, I mean, I think that people have to kind of take that into consideration too. Where is this town going to be? Because
in so many years.
Yeah, because there's commuters. There's a lot of people coming into the area. Where are they going to go?
Oh, absolutely. Even like on the west side. You're starting to see the west side of Asbury pop more.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit.
Yeah.
But, if you're looking to get a deal, something for $200,000, and you put some work into it and be patient.
Yeah, and that's something too that people don't. I've talked to my father-in-law about this. I've talked to my dad about this. Who there's a certain stigma of Asbury Park and where it came from. The rise and fall, and now rise again, where they just don't believe. Oh no, there's no. I'm like, listen, there's money being poured into it. People are investing in it. It's not just local politicians like building it up and nothing happening. And I think that's something that people need to take into consideration no matter where you're looking is this town might not seem like the best town, or that town might not seem like the best now, but consider something like that. Consider, Bradley Beach and how people didn't buy into it and now look at where it is, or Asbury Park where, people weren't buying into it and now looking at where it is. I think people need to kind of open up their minds a little bit if they want to find deals.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's where the investors are looking. That's what they're doing. And that's why they're successful with what they're doing.
I think we covered a lot here.
I think we did.
Yeah. Is there any kind of anything else, anything you could think of that you'd like to let people know about the area, or?
Oh, I think it's a great area. I encourage people to have an open mind. When they come down here and visit, Ocean County, Monmouth County. Yeah. Ocean County's fine.
Yeah, Monmouth and Ocean. The
Monmouth
logo,
and Ocean.
The logo for Totally Local has both of them in there. So it's definitely that area.
Yeah, and I've worked with people that say, oh, they just want to live in Ocean Grove, and next thing you know, they're 2 short towns over.
Yeah.
So just have an open mind, have your agent, preferably me, show you a variety of inventory, what's on the market, and just spend that time because it's all about education.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah, and that's something too that I'm in the works. I've been talking to a couple people that have been on here. I want to do Totally Local on location. So if you're doing an open house or you're there,
nice.
I'd like to do a video with you in the house to go over ins and outs. If the homeowner's cool with it, you're cool with it. If you're down, we'll talk more about that.
That'd be great. I would love to do
cool.
that. I would love to do that.
Well, Deana, thanks for coming in today. If anybody wants to get in touch with Deana, her information is up on the video that Ming's sharing. Like I said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been great. Thank you, Ming. Thank you. A Shared Universe Podcast Studio. Once again, this is Totally Local, and we'll talk to you guys.